What's up?
Adam and Danny from RuneGate Studio here.
That's right. And guess what? We just watched
Rise of Skywalker.
Rise of Skywalker.
Is that what it's called? Yes.
Yeah.
The Rise of Skywalker. We
of
just
Skywalker.
got back. It's 1:15. We just saw it. Final movie in the Skywalker Saga, Episode 9.
Yeah, we literally just drove right here. We're in the back of my car right now because we didn't want to we wanted to be able to be loud. We didn't want to bug our landlord. So we're in a parking lot in the back of my car right now.
We're in the parking lot of 7-Eleven.
7-Eleven. Should pick up a corn dog.
Shout out to Ernest.
We came right from the theater. We didn't talk to each other at all about Star Wars on the way here.
I have no idea what Danny thought about it.
I have no idea what Adam thought about it. And so we're just going to get into it. We made one of these videos for The Last Jedi. We had similar thoughts between us about The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
We didn't enjoy it.
Here's what I think we should do.
Okay.
Since neither of us know what the other thinks about this movie, I think we should do like a countdown. After one, we'll each say like just a one sentence, like just gut feeling. Heavy spoiler alert. We're gonna be
big time.
discussing the entire movie in its entirety.
Yeah.
Entirely.
Yeah.
You know, if you haven't seen it yet, probably don't watch this video. But of course, this is for discussion purposes. We're going to call this video like Filmmakers Review or Filmmakers React because, hey, Danny and I are filmmakers. You ever seen Nevermore to Rome? Internationally acclaimed short film.
Okay.
Either way, as professional videographers, at least, we can claim that much. We have, I think, at least something to add to the discussion surrounding film and cinema, and of course, Star Wars. Probably one of the greatest, or one of our most favoritist things in the entire world is Star Wars. So on those qualifications, I think we are justified in making this video. We'll go 3, 2, 1, blah.
Okay.
And that's how it'll go. I'm kind of nervous. I have no idea what's going to be said here. 3, 2, 1. It was the best movie in this trilogy.
Where the trilogy... That didn't work at all.
It didn't.
Where the trilogy ended up on the last movie, I think this did a fantastic job with what it had of putting it all together.
I think it was the best one of the trilogy.
I do as well.
I think it might be the best movie we've gotten, including the anthology films.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah.
Is that bold?
That is bold.
Is it bold
That
to say
is
that's
bold.
better than Rogue One?
I think from an objective narrative movie kind of standpoint, I don't think it was better than Rogue One, but I think from a nerdy Star Wars nerd boner perspective, it was sick. That's what I thought. But that's interesting because there was a lot of people that were kind of like I feel like how some people were talking about The Last Jedi, how they were kind of like whatever other stuff. It had cool Star Wars stuff in it.
Yeah.
But I almost kind of feel like that in this one because I feel like it respected Star Wars better.
Yes. See, look, we both hated The Last Jedi. I watched it. I spent the last 2 years vehemently arguing with anybody who had anything positive to say because I hated it. Look. I watched it again recently, about a week ago, to prepare, to get ready for this episode 9. And I have to say that on another more recent viewing, look, I still don't like the movie. I still think it's the worst Star Wars movie we have, but I was able to appreciate what redeeming qualities it did have in it. And for me, it's fine. I still don't like it. There's a lot of big issues that I have with the film, but I don't... I still don't like it, but I don't hate it as much.
Came with a little bit more appreciation.
Yes,
slightly.
And maybe that's because I went into it knowing with that kind of the attitude of hating it so much that I was able to I didn't have my expectations so loftily high. I could maybe see through the whole thing and appreciate what we have. But I feel like this movie, while I think it's the best Star Wars movie or best ending to this trilogy, because honestly, we were thinking that if this movie was bad, this entire sequel trilogy would be a complete write-off. Total write-off. It might as well not be canon. But I think that The Rise of Skywalker is the best movie we could have gotten from Disney to wrap up this trilogy and actually finish it in a satisfying way. There are
Yeah.
things that I maybe personally I wish would have happened a bit differently,
Mhm.
but overall I have to say that I am happy with what we got.
Yeah, I am pleased with it. There are things about it that I was kind of like, okay. There was one part in particular that really pissed me off, but I was willing to forgive a little bit, just because of the kind of the just epicness and like the big kind of wrap up that they did. Going into it, so first of all, there's very very few cinematic universes and movies that get me like right here, you know? There's not many. Star Wars is one of them that is so close to my heart. You know, I grew up with it and everything. And
It's not even just the cinematic universe. It's just the universe in general.
Yeah,
Everything.
exactly.
The books,
Everything about
the
it.
games, the lore, just
Yeah.
everything about Star Wars.
So going into this movie, I was actually like this whole time I've been like Adam, whatever, it's gonna suck. It's gonna suck.
Yeah,
like,
we've been like,
don't get your hopes up. It's gonna suck because I was like, and I realized that like honestly like when I sat there and the Star Wars thing came up and the credits or the credits, but like the
opening crawl.
Yeah, the crawl started going. I was actually like scared. Like I was like I was sitting there and I realized I was like, holy shit, I am terrified of what they're gonna do with this movie. Like it was just like this culmination of me kind of just like denying and being like, I don't care anymore, I don't care. And then like that started rolling and I was like, I do care like a lot about this.
We spent so long hating The Last Jedi, but I love Rogue One. I liked Han Solo. I've been really enjoying The Mandalorian too.
Minus one episode.
Minus episode 4,
Doesn't
which
exist.
doesn't exist. But where was I going with this? But when I don't remember what movie we went to see. We went and saw a movie earlier this year. It might have been it was the Joker. We went and saw the Joker in theaters, and they played the trailer that included the trailer for Rise of Skywalker that had a 2-minute kind of prelude that included footage from all of the trilogies. And even though I was like in my mind, I'm like, look, listen, episode 9 is gonna suck. I'm gonna hate it. It's gonna ruin Star Wars. It's gonna ruin this trilogy at least. When I saw that trailer and they played every scenes from every movie, and then it went into it, and then they had Darth Sidious laugh at the end, I got emotional in the theater before I even saw Joker. That's like I was like, man, like, you know what? Despite how cynical and jaded I wanted to be in the moment, I love Star Wars too much, and I was hoping with every fiber of my being that this movie was going to be good. Yeah. And my initial when I walked into the theater of The Last Jedi, I was so mad. I was supremely upset. Currently, I'm pretty stoked.
I'm pretty stoked as well.
I'm definitely gonna see it again in theaters.
I would love to watch this movie again,
which is something I didn't do with The Last Jedi.
That's the thing. As soon as it finished, I was like, with the things that I had and issues with it, I would be excited to watch it again. That's me coming into with such low expectations. That is good enough for me. Like I am so happy being able to say that I enjoyed it that much to be able to go and watch it again. I thought that they had a really interesting dynamic with Rey and Kylo that was a bit different from the last movie. Built off stuff from the last movie, but it was really interesting. They played with some crazy Force shit, which I really enjoyed. Like it kind of played with like reality, or the Force kind of playing with the fabric of reality. Like I thought it was really interesting.
That was interesting.
What they did with that. Yeah.
I've been thinking. I've been saying this whole time. This trilogy isn't about Rey. It's about Kylo Ren. This is Kylo Ren's story. Kylo Ren is clearly the best character in this entire trilogy. 100%. I know it's supposed to raise the main whatever, but it's not. Kylo Ren is the best.
Yeah.
Ben Solo, whatever.
Yeah.
He's the only one that has actually had an arc this entire time. Rey's character.
This movie did wonders with Rey's character. I found
it was better.
It was considerably better
because it showed that she actually had some flaws.
Yes.
She was actually finally struggling with something. She didn't struggle as much as I wanted her to.
Yeah.
But that's just a personal thing. Overall, I'm happy with it. But for me, I just take his hand, Rey. We had the same thing. It was the same exact scene. One of the biggest issues too that I had with this movie, with this entire trilogy in general, is they copy pasted a lot of ideas from the original trilogy into this exact one. But just come on, Anyways, Rey's character while a lot better, this movie was still a little too bland, still a little too one note, one directional.
But I feel like her character was not good, but established in the last ones. Like they established her as this one-dimensional character.
As this white
and
knight.
so I think JJ did a great job of not changing her character, but taking kind of like the idea of her being like her not having any real ground in the movie in the first two. Like she didn't really have much anything.
Which
right?
was
like,
one of our biggest gripes with The Last Jedi. It's like,
then,
why wouldn't you go with Kylo Ren? You have no reason not to.
Exactly. And then this one, or like, J.J. Abrams was like, yeah, she doesn't have a lot of reason to be here. So like, let's make her struggle with that. And then of course they gave her a reason to stay for that. So I think, like Adam said, I think we both would have, kind of in our own minds preferred something else to happen. I think that, this realistically was one of the best ways it can end with that. Like realistically, like Disney and stuff, like obviously, like Rey's not gonna go ham and go to the dark side.
She should have though.
I know she should have.
She should have.
She totally should have.
She 100% should have.
Yeah.
She should. If she had killed Palpatine and gotten the entirety of the Sith generations in her, and then Kylo Ren had to beat her,
that's what I thought was gonna happen.
That's what I was hoping would happen.
I thought Kylo was gonna be the last Jedi.
The last, he's the Rise of Skywalker. He's the last Skywalker.
Exactly. That's kind of what I was thinking.
The Rise of Skywalker is it's literal because he literally had to climb back out of the thing. He's rising. Rise of Skywalker. Wow.
So let's just say 3 points, like 3 points of your favorite parts. Not favorite like parts, like as in scenes, or they can be, but just like when you thought, just like overall, what were your 3 biggest things that were pros, and then we'll do cons.
Okay, you go first.
Okay. Pros for, I think Rey's character was a huge one, and how they gave her a little bit of shape.
Yeah, it was a lot better.
Gave her struggle, gave her some actual meat to her character. Which I thought was just made the whole thing, it was a lot better than the other movies. So that was
a lot better.
2, I really enjoyed that they did away with almost all the annoying characters.
Yeah, that's gotta be one of the best.
Thank you, Rose, for staying at the Resistance base.
But I didn't hear what you said. What did you say? All the annoying what?
All the annoying characters, like
all characters.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say humor.
Okay, there was a bit of that, but considerably less, which is also big. So I thought it was.
I thought the humor was considerably better in this one.
Yeah, the treatment was less silly, which is fantastic. Like the annoying characters that like they realized that people didn't really like the Rose Finn dynamic, so they removed Rose and just made all the relationships more believable.
Yeah,
I like how
I was happy with Rose's role in this movie.
Yeah,
she was fine.
She was great. Like she's not a bad character. She's a good actor, and it's like. She played a good role in this movie. I just think that they gave her a weird role in the other one.
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
So yeah, all the relationships were so much more believable. I liked how Rey and Poe just didn't get along straight up. Like at the beginning, like that's just kind of a more interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
Shows that time has passed, that they've like had kind of a relationship, and didn't really they don't jive.
Because Poe is like, you should be out in the field with us. You're the strongest fighter. So, and she's like, I need to steady become the Jedi.
Yeah. So I think they came in a good way that made it believable that a year had passed, and the relationships reflected that. Number 3. Palpatine nuking all the fucking ships.
Oh,
holy!
That was so cool.
Oh my gosh!
We both I covered my face like this.
Insane.
It was so cool.
Yeah, but sorry. So number 3 wouldn't be just that moment. It would be the exploration
cool
of
moments.
Force abilities.
Yeah, dude.
I think those would be my main 3. Right, just off the top of my head. I mean, I might think about it more after, but
when Rey and Kylo were like trying to bring down the transport.
Oh, and when she nuked Chewie, that was fucking sick.
And then she some Force lightning shot out of her hand, and Kylo's like, "Oh
yes,
whoa!"
That part was amazing, and she was traumatized.
Yeah, I
awesome. Loved that. Sorry. So those are my biggest pros that I'm feeling right now. What are yours?
I think maybe the one thing that I liked is I thought they really established a lot of these cool like Star Wars cultures and worlds really well.
Yeah.
I like when they went to
They touched-
Kijimi,
Yeah.
and it was like this weird snow planet, and the city was like a bunch of stairs, and this really kind of maze of ice and stone, and it was this kind of dark underbelly, and they had this black market droid hacker or whatever
he was
cracker or something.
kind of a whatever goofy character, but I just
Oh,
like
it's
the
fun.
idea of him.
He's like whatever. He wasn't
Played as
silly.
big.
For me the humor was a big thing because I one of my biggest issues with the first two in this trilogy was that it felt like they were trying to force like Marvel kind of humor on here, like The Last Jedi was basically like Avengers with a Star Wars coat of paint slapped on top of it, which made me so mad because I go to Avengers for like a fun popcorn flick.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge like Marvel nerd the same way that I'm a Star Wars nerd. So for me, I just enjoy the Marvel movies. I think they're fun, and I like watching them. When I go to Star Wars, I want a serious cinematic experience that treats my favorite IP with the respect it deserves. And what I don't need
Are you white knighting Star Wars?
and what I don't need is a scene in the very beginning of the movie where Poe pretends to not hear Admiral Hux over the intercom, and it's just this silly, dumb, goofy. I don't need BB-8 hacking into an ATST for no reason, or fixing a ship by slamming his face into the sparks. It doesn't make any sense. Get that Marvel humor out of here. You're not Iron Man, okay? So I like that the humor in this movie was kind of much more toned back. For me there wasn't really
more
any,
situational.
there wasn't really any like kind of cringy humor moments.
There's one for me.
Which one? What was it?
In the moment where Kylo jumped and like hit the big like chain,
Oh,
and then
this
he
was
was like, "Ow."
Oh, that's. I mean,
And it was like whatever, but it was kind of reminiscent of that humor in the last movie where it takes you out of the moment.
It does. It take you.
That's the thing.
I didn't have a big issue. With that.
It was okay. I just like when I kind of did it, I was just kind of like whatever.
Yeah.
Like we could have done without
It was
that.
obviously placed there for laughs. You know, it's a pretty serious moment.
It was to break up the tension, but I loved that tension. Like I liked that serious kind of heavy moment of that. I thought we could have done without that, but I understand why it was there. So not a huge gripe of mine, but
So I really like the and then you kind of like one of the things we were really worried about when we saw the trailer was the horse things. We thought that was a really stupid and goofy thing, but those guys actually ended up being kind of cool.
They were okay.
You know?
I thought it was. Yeah, I thought it was like.
It could have been a lot worse.
Yeah. Oh, it could have been totally worse. I thought like when they charged out of the thing, I was like, okay, there's the scene from the trailer, and I was kind of like, but then they didn't dwell on it at all, which I really appreciated. That it wasn't like, oh, these horses are a key to our like success and stuff.
For some reason, in my mind,
cool.
I also thought
like
that Rose was one of the people riding the horses like into battle. Was she?
Probably.
She was in the battle.
Yeah, she was.
Whatever.
Because she's a main character.
I didn't see her that often, so I don't really care. But I guess my first thing is I like the cool, just the awesome expansion on Star Wars like worlds and universes, and seeing the effects. Like I thought that the ancestor or the life celebration of the ancestors was a really cool scene. Like you saw all the aliens like
when
dancing
I saw that
and
in the
doing all
trailer,
that
I
stuff.
was
Really cool.
skeptical as well.
Yeah,
like
see,
when I saw
thought
that
it was goofy.
everything, I was like, what is this? But then like I don't know, it wasn't an event as much as it was just a setting, which I liked. You know, it didn't dwell on like, oh, this like, you know, kind of peace love festival thing.
Yeah, it was just a cool backdrop.
It was just a setting. Like it was just something that was happening in the world. They did their little thing in it and left. So
and it was a cool introduction to Lando. He comes out with a crossbow and
can
snipe like a force
cool.
stormtrooper right in the visor.
Yeah.
So that's my first thing, right? My second thing that I really enjoyed
was
just the world expansion, world
humor,
building.
and
the humor. Okay, I guess then the third thing
Yeah.
that I really enjoyed was like, oh man, the Sith, Palpatine, that whole underground with like all the hooded, the whole like amphitheater vibe when they're doing the chants and it's this ritual was so cool. Which is a part of the reason why I wish that Rey had done it, so that we could have seen the fulfilling of this prophecy, and Kylo would have been the one to like fight her.
Right.
But I love that aesthetic. There was the giant statues
just
of
lightning
Palpatine
everywhere and just the big spires. And,
it was so cool.
And the way that Palpatine was being held up by that big arm,
that was awesome.
The whole aesthetic of that was on point. I really enjoyed that.
It's weird though that like, so it's like they have cloning technology. He died and he's come back. So why is this one the final one? Why can't he just come
I don't think
back?
he was cloned.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
How did he survive? I mean,
He-
who knows?
well,
he
he said,
survived.
like-
he fell
yeah,
and he came back up.
Because he said the thing that like he fell and he came back up.
Yeah,
right?
and I guess
So,
maybe you could
yeah,
say like
so,
once he stole the life force from Kylo
because
and
it was the
Rey,
same body,
it's
like it was a deteriorated
it's
body
like
that was
he-
like the same.
yeah,
right?
He like had all the Sith in him, and once Rey actually like she literally like Indiana Jones, you know,
yeah,
like
Yeah,
Ark of the
essentially.
Covenant like melted him
Yeah.
away. So I guess that's the end of him. And I guess maybe that my gripe is that he died too easily.
yeah.
He died because she.
Yeah.
Had
We're not
two
on gripes yet. We're not on
lightsabers.
gripes yet.
Okay.
We're on dope shit.
There's a
So
lot of
Sith dope
there's a
shit.
lot of real cool things that happen in this movie.
Absolutely.
You know.
Yeah. I like how.
The opening scene was dope with Kylo Ren,
Yep.
and he kills all these whatever they are.
Yeah,
he
that
kills
was a
these.
really
I guess
cool
they're like
scene.
Jedi protectors or protectors of like this
Yeah.
artifact.
Yeah, like Jedi priests
Oh,
or something
it
like
was
that.
sick. Kylo
Yeah,
Ren,
that
Kylo
was
is
really,
the
really
best
cool.
character.
Yeah, I like
100%.
the whole opening sequence. For me, the whole, like, I can see how, like, the reason I said, like, kind of cinematically, because, like, if that was a sequence in, like, any other movie that didn't have, like, all this backing and everything, if that was a sequence, it would have happened way too fast. Like, all this stuff happened at the beginning, but I feel like in this situation, they had to do that. Like, they needed to get so much information in this to clean up all the mess left from the other one that, like, I think they, it was fast. It was definitely fast, like, at the beginning, to kind of get to our point. They were just kind of like, but I think they did a pretty good job of it, kind of considering.
Yeah.
Yeah. Should we go into cons?
Sure.
We can talk more about.
We'll
bros.
probably go back and forth.
Yeah,
or whatever,
yeah,
but
yeah.
let's. Sure. Do you have any? What
Yeah.
you said you had one major.
My
scene.
major one, and
Okay.
I said this before everything. So
I'm
in
curious.
the trailers, we saw a
Oh,
dark
yeah, this was bad.
Rey. Okay, so we saw a dark Sith Rey with a cool hinged dual-bladed lightsaber, and that's all they showed was boom, and that was it. I told myself, and I told Adam, I was like, if they make that a vision or a dream, and it's not real in some way, they could have made it a clone of Rey. They could have made it like her, being taken over by Palpatine, even for a few minutes.
That would have been dope.
Anything about that besides what they did, and it was just a vision, that was so stupid because it didn't add much to the movie.
No.
All that
no.
was
Clickbait.
real life trailer clickbait. It was that part, like that. I'm actually still just rattled about that because
Yeah, that's bad.
and like even
you shouldn't have done that.
even
in the,
if
in the
it
trailer,
was
man.
no, not like even if it was like, why did they give her a dual hinged lightsaber that has no
There's no precedent for
no
that.
symbolic significance in anything, right?
Yes.
Like they just did that because they're like, let's make a dope, cool new lightsaber to show in the trailer. It's red. It's Rey. And then let's just say no, just joking, like
Yeah, you can't.
yeah, like I think that was a huge middle finger to the audience because
Yeah, that was.
the whole thing was you showed that scene in the trailer and then they swung the lightsaber once and then Rey fell out of her vision.
Yeah, really. The choreography and the camera work for the fights were so bad. You like hardly got to see the dual bladed things in use. That's
Yeah.
one of my gripes. The lightsaber combat was
not
pretty
good.
lacking.
Was not very good.
In this whole
No.
trilogy, I would say.
Yeah.
The emotion was there, but the choreography pretty bad. It
I
got
thought it
a
was-
little better in the very last scene
Yeah.
when Kylo was fighting the Knights of Ren. He starts spinning it around, kind of
Yeah,
reminds
and
me of
doing
like
that cool
stuff.
jumps and stuff, but like that
There
was
were
the
some
thing.
cool moments. Like
Why
Rey,
do they always fight with one hand? That was what bugged me. They're like sitting there and they're both fighting each other and they're not putting both of their hands on their lightsaber.
Oh.
They're clashing and they're with one hand out like this. It's like you would be stronger if you put two on. That's
Yeah.
one thing that did me in a little bit was like you said, the
lightsaber combat was a little whack.
There was a
But
lot
the
of
force, the use of the force during the lightsaber combat was cool. 'Cause I haven't
Yes.
seen too much of that before.
Yes.
So, like
Yeah,
the
so-
force jumps, the
like kind of like
the
blocking the
manipulation.
lightsaber with it.
Yeah, even like the fighting with their force visions selves and stuff was
Yeah.
pretty cool. But the actual choreo, a little weak, guys.
Yeah.
You guys never you never watched Revenge of the Sith. You never saw the greatest lightsaber duel of all time.
Yeah, like,
Like-
anything. Like, you ever see Phantom Menace?
You ever see it?
Man, you ever
You
see
ever
Darth
see it?
Maul?
Even yeah. Anyways, whatever.
Yeah, so I thought that, and I guess like the idea maybe behind it is because they're not traditionally trained Sith and Jedi, like they're not trained in traditional sword stuff.
Yeah, but Ray can instantly become good at anything. Like,
Yeah,
he should become good
exactly.
at lightsaber
So
combat.
yeah, so so that was something I was kind of like, and you know, like the whole every lightsaber battle, I wasn't concerned. You know, in other movies,
Right.
you're watching a lightsaber battle and you're like, someone's going to die, right? You're like, I don't know which one it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone's gonna die here. Someone's gonna get their arm cut off. Someone's gonna
Yeah.
get wrecked. But in these fights, I didn't feel like that at all. In every fight, like when they had that long fight when they were on like the water thing, it was kind of like, okay, neither of them want to kill each other. They've established that really clearly.
Yeah.
But they're still swinging deadly laser swords at each other.
Yeah, I thought
with one hand.
I thought Kylo Ren was played well there because he just was kind of batting her attacks away.
Yeah, exactly. And she was kind of like venting this like anger and stuff. But I still just like, you know, I just didn't feel.
No, I mean,
I didn't.
the combat, whatever. The choreo, bad. Okay, come on.
Yeah.
We literally just watched.
Yeah.
This is one video this guy made, Accented Cinema, and he was talking about how the lightsaber combat in The Last Jedi and in Star Wars in general is pretty weak, except they did it well in the original trilogy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, how do they not fix that? Also,
I don't know.
the Knights of Ren, come on, guys! Like, you didn't do anything again.
Yeah. So
you
Knights of
you were
Ren.
teased in the first one, weren't there at all in the second one. Brought them back, had all these super cool shots of them walking around. Their 6 swords, their axes, their halberds.
Yeah.
I was like waiting for a scene where they just take out an entire squad of like resistance fight soldiers just to show off what they can do. But the only time you ever see them fight is when they like kind of beat Kylo Ren up for a bit. Like, they don't even try and kill him. They just beat him up for a bit.
Yeah.
And then he like gets a lightsaber and kills them all in like 10 seconds.
Yeah. So for that, it would have been definitely cool to kind of see them do more cool stuff. But I kind of understand the decision to not flesh them out because there just wasn't enough time. Like, I think they really needed to pick their battles in this movie of what to flesh out, and there was already so much to do. Yeah, there could have been something, but I'm just like that was kind of like my like initial defense of it is like, I understand why they didn't like explain the Knights of Ren, because it sounded like, I'm sure JJ had the intention of explaining them in the first movie. That's why they were introduced. He said, we have 2 whole movies to explain them. They were completely ignored in the second one. 100%.
The second one is so bad.
Ignored. And so then JJ comes back and he's like, hey, well, we still have these cool characters. We can still use them, but like, I'm sure he wasn't happy about not fleshing them out.
Yeah.
That's just like my initial thought.
I think it could have been handled better.
Yeah.
I think, release a director's cut, JJ, extra 45 minutes, just the Knights of Ren killing people. And also Rey going to the dark side. Yeah, I want the ending to change, please.
Other gripes with it. So that was all off my first one of the Dark Rey. So I guess my second one would probably be the whole movie and many of the things were a bit too convenient.
Little Deus Ex Machina stuff going on.
Definitely. And like Star Wars has always been that you always have like the kind of cop out of the Force. It's like kind of like, oh, how did they be here at this time? The Force. How did they know that? The Force, right? There was always a little bit of a cop out, but this was like heavy on it. Everyone was like knows where to be at every time.
Was Finn's Force sensitive in the other 2 ever? Did we ever see that before? Or was it just introduced here?
Not that comes to mind.
Maybe like in the Force Awakens, he's the one who got the lightsaber initially. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But
and then just got wrecked. But
yeah.
But that was kind of.
But in this one, he's like, oh, Rey's over there. Oh, Rey's dead. Oh, like.
Yeah, exactly. Like he was like getting more information than Leia was, pretty much like through the Force. So I thought that like that Finn thing, and I understand why they did it. Like at the same time, it's like this movie kind of needed to be convenient because it was like you can't have all those events happen without people kind of just showing up. It's kind of like Kylo was always there. Just showed up.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like,
how did he get off that planet? He found a TIE fighter somewhere.
Yeah. So that's kind of one of mine was like a little bit too convenient, and I thought there was a bit too heavy on the Force ghosts and like kind of like projections of other people, like dead people and stuff. But I also think the reason that they did that was because the last movie killed off all the characters. They didn't have an arc. Like, they didn't finish off, right? So like with Luke, like he never really finished his whole thing. Like in my mind, I thought the treatment of Luke in The Last Jedi was horrible, and so I get why he comes back in this one to do it. I thought he was in it a bit too much. Like I thought he was kind of like, you know, like kind of like heavy into it. I
thought it was cool. I mean, I don't know. I thought when she chucked this lightsaber away, I was like, okay, good. You like Kylo chucked his away.
Yeah.
You chuck yours away. Go make yourself your own dual-bladed JQ1,
Please, yeah.
which we see at the very end, and
Yeah.
so we people have been saying like, oh, Rey's carrying around the staff for the entire trilogy for no reason apparently, because why does she have the staff? She doesn't get a saber staff until literally the last minute.
Well, we don't know that was a saber
Well,
staff.
it looked like one. Like it looked like there's two emitters. Like
looked
the
it.
hill was pretty short for a saber staff. It was
Yeah.
yellow blade.
Yellow
pretty
blade,
cool.
very cool. I like the way it turned on.
Yeah, it's
sideways.
very analog.
Very cool.
I will say that I think they treated Leia's character and death well, considering that Carrie
Better.
Fisher passed away shortly after The Last Jedi was released. I thought it was interesting that they decided to keep her in The Last Jedi, despite continue on past it, despite the fact that Carrie Fisher passed away. Yeah. But they somehow they were kind of able to use whatever leftover footage they had to make this character an arc around it, and I thought that was done well. And it was cool because it established this. There's this whole new force power, like this force heal that has been introduced, right?
Yeah.
So, you see it first when Rey heals the desert snake.
That part was kind of dumb, but
so she heals the desert snake and it goes away.
They needed to
establish it or whatever.
Yeah.
And then later, so Leia projects force, and you see also as well. So it's cool because they alluded to Legends now. It shows that Leia did train as a Jedi, and she had her own lightsaber, which was sick. And they did the CG of like Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher. Just for a moment, I thought that was so cool. It showed them training and like her final tests to become a Jedi. She kicks Luke down, and he's like, oh, like that was so sick. She force projects, and like says like I don't know what she says, like I don't remember, like Ben or my son or something, or whatever. And it makes Kylo drop his lightsaber, and then Rey in a fit of anger like hits him with a killing blow, and he just like sits there, and then Rey kind of snaps to and heals him. And it's established that to heal somebody, you transfer your own force energy, the force energy that dwells within you, into that person.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So when at the end Rey lies dead from the effort of destroying Palpatine, Kylo, or Ben at this point, climbs up from the pit and does the same thing. I thought it wasn't gonna work, and I kind of was hoping it wasn't gonna work.
I was as well.
Ben was gonna have to deal with like there's like, look, you won, you defeated the Emperor, but there's consequences, right? Like you died because of it, and Ben would have to kind of live with that fact. And then she gets brought back to life, and I was like, oh come on! But then they kiss, and I was like, yes. Yes, it's not Rey and Finn, it's not Rey and Poe, it's Rey and Kylo Ren, like it always should have been, because Kylo Ren was the only person to ever truly understand Rey, I think.
Yeah.
Finn doesn't know jack, and I was stoked on that. But then Kylo dies. Ben dies because I guess Rey was like literally just freshly dead, or on the brink of passing on to become one with the Force or whatever. Ben transfers to save her because I guess he thinks she's worth saving. He transfers his entire being of himself, his whole life energy, everything that the midichlorians can give him, into Rey to bring her back from the brink of death. And in doing so, he becomes one with the Force. His arc has completed. I'm a little sad that we don't have the dopest Star Wars couple of all time in Rey and Ben Solo. But a part of me hates it, a part of me loves it, because a part of me is such a sucker for tragic romances. It makes me sad, but maybe in a good way. I don't know. It's such a tragic tale. Like, I wish they could have been together so bad. But that's what I think about Phantom of the Opera, or like Moulin Rouge, too. And it just really hits me right in the feelings, guys. Yeah. But I don't know. Like it wasn't the ending I would have gone with probably,
Hmm.
but I'm okay with it
I'm
because
okay with it as
they
well,
didn't
yeah.
show her like, because she kisses Ben, and that's like such an awesome moment. And so I'm glad they didn't show her later like Finn, because Finn has a secret he wants to tell her the entire movie or whatever. So I'm glad we never figure out what that is. This is
Right.
probably like, I love you.
It probably
Ray.
was. It probably was, and then he realized that he doesn't know her, and she doesn't really want him to. Like that was kind of like the vibe that she got. I liked how angry Ray was. This movie.
That's finally
Yeah.
we got a character arc from her.
Exactly.
Here
Yeah.
we go.
I liked
we
how
did it.
I liked how she was angry. I also I got chills when we heard Qui-Gon
Oh yeah.
talking to
Oh
Ray.
yeah.
Oh,
I heard Anakin
Qui-Gon.
in there too. For a
Anakin,
second.
Hayden Christensen
Yeah.
was in there. We got Mace Windu in there. We
True.
got like everyone just kind of like just like their tiny little cameos.
I was kind of hoping for an Anakin Force Ghost. I was
I
kind of
was too,
hoping.
a little
So I was
bit.
hoping like,
Yeah.
oh, like this. Look, you. I mean, he thought it's like. You wonder where I got my original saber? It's from this guy, and then Anakin's like, "Hey, hey Ray."
Whoa. Yeah, I kind of at like the beginning of the movie when Palpatine was kind of like, I'm every voice you ever heard in your head. He was Snoke. He was
Oh, that
Vader.
was cool. You see
That was-
Snoke. You see they clone Snoke. Snoke is
Yeah.
like a clone
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
He's like this weird
Super
being
weird,
in,
yeah.
in a vat.
Maybe those are
So,
like the
now I'm-
attempts to clone Palpatine that are kind of like
Oh,
not
interesting.
like successful
That's,
yet.
that made me okay because
Um,
Snoke's death in the Last Jedi kind of bothered me. So good
Yeah.
on you, JJ, for
For
making me not
literally
hate
making
it.
Snoke not matter. I like that they literally made Snoke not matter.
Yeah, which
which
is
is
good,
good. Yeah,
because
which is
that's
great.
what Ryan Johnson did,
Yeah, exactly.
but in a bad way.
Yeah. So when I initially heard that, when he was kind of like, his voice changed to Vader's voice, and he was like, "You ever heard?" Like in that, I was kind of like, "Oh, okay, so this like." And this is kind of like dumb of me, but I was like, oh, that's kind of lame that like Vader wasn't actually talking to him. It'd be cool if Vader was actually talking to him. But then it's like kind of at the end when you hear Hayden Christensen's voice, it's like, oh, obviously Vader wouldn't be.
Yeah,
He wouldn't be influencing to the dark
Yeah,
side.
because at the end of the original trilogy, like
Yeah,
he
exactly.
redeems himself. He
Yeah.
throws the Emperor
And
down
I,
the well.
yeah, I just for some reason at the beginning I just like forgot. I was just like, oh, it'd be cool. Like that's lame that Vader wasn't actually talking. But then I was like, oh wait, I'm dumb. Like that's obviously why, because he's not Vader. He's Anakin.
Yeah.
And he's a good guy.
And that's another issue I have is that Kylo's arc is kind of the same as Darth Vader's arc. He starts off as a bad guy that he killed his father, or Anakin killed Obi-Wan and all the younglings, which pretty cool.
Very cool.
Very cool. But it just happened that Kylo was saved faster than Vader was.
Yeah.
Vader was saved kind of at the end when he died. Kylo got saved on the ship, but it's the same kind of arc. And so Kylo's the same kind of character, which is kind of why I was hoping a little bit that Rey would just take his hand and join Kylo in this endeavor, so that we would have something a little bit different. Because one of the biggest things is that this whole trilogy didn't really tell a new story from the original one.
Right.
Do you agree with that sentiment a little bit? Overall, the story isn't that much different from the original trilogy.
That's the thing is it's a continuation.
But it's just,
right?
yeah, but it's the same.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a loop.
So it is kind of a loop. Yeah,
You can play the same movies on top of each other. It's the same thing. It's the same basic idea.
Right. Yeah. So
know?
kind of like new characters and kind of a little bit different dynamics, but generally the same idea for it.
And that's why people are like, "Oh, you think The Last Jedi is the worst one? Haven't you watched the prequels?" Look, I get why the prequels get so much hate.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of silly stuff in there, and the
Bad
dialogue,
writing.
the writing is bad, but for the dialogue, the writing for the story itself, I think, is amazing, and it's what makes it better than the sequel trilogy.
And the good guys lose.
And that's the thing. In the prequel trilogy, you had no idea what was going to happen. You know, I mean, you can kind of infer because, you know that Anakin becomes Darth Vader if you'd watched the original trilogy. But if you're watching it, you're like, holy, like, Anakin goes to the dark side. He kills all the Jedi. The scene of Order 66 is still like emotional for me when I watch it now.
Absolutely, it
you
sucks.
know, like it's
I always
crazy.
wish that every time I watch it, I wish it's gonna be different. It's not.
Yeah.
It always happens the same way.
And for me, I know a mark of a bad movie is when I want the bad guys to win. And some people have said like, Adam, you always want the bad guys to win, because they think that I want that.
Yeah.
No, I don't. In Episode 3, I'm like, I've seen it so many times. I'm like, Yoda, please this time can you beat Palpatine? Just beat him in the duel,
No,
please.
for me, it's
and
every time Anakin is standing there with Windu being like, he's too dangerous. I'm like, Anakin, don't
do it.
Just stand, don't. And then he does.
But in the Last Jedi, I'm like, I hope the Resistance all die now, because at least that would be interesting. You know, I was like, I want them all to die, and it can just be the Kylo Ren show from now on.
Yeah.
That's how I know it's a bad movie, because I wanted the bad guys to win.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in this one, I wanted a middle ground. I wanted Kylo Ren. I wanted
Kylo to win.
I wanted Kylo to win.
I'm the opposite opposite of Huck.
Hux.
Hux. Yeah.
He
just
He's
wants
a funny
Kylo
character.
to lose. I like his little thing too. How he was the traitor, and then Admiral Pride is just like
General Pride.
General Pride. Just he was cool. I liked him a lot.
He said that he served Palpatine in the Old Wars.
Yeah. I don't think he was a character,
before.
but he must have been like kind of in the lower ranks or something.
Maybe.
Through that, but I like how he just kind of shot him. Like he was a good secondary antagonist. I think.
Yeah, he was cool.
Yeah,
he was cool because he wasn't like as whiny as Hux was. You know, he had more gravitas.
Yeah. Exactly. He was kind of like the what's his name?
Toph.
Yeah.
Grand Moff Tarkin.
Yeah,
Toph.
Tarkin.
Toph, like from The Last Airbender.
Yeah.
Tarkin.
Tarkin.
But back on my point is that, for me, it's not. I didn't want the bad guys to win, but I wanted them to win a little bit more, so that it wasn't just like the good guys steamroll everything. And I know there was the scenes of like, oh, the reinforcements aren't coming. And then reinforcements come, and it's like, oh, this great moment, Lando and Chewie brought somehow the entire galaxy's worth of our.
I did like the sheer amount of ships that showed up.
It was cool, but
it was cool. It was like a huge armada.
It's like, why? Like, how did you convince them to do this when they wouldn't do the other? I don't know. Whatever. However they did it, I don't get it. And then it showed Palpatine like force lightning, like destroying them all, which was such a cool.
So cool.
The
sound effect they used there, like the sound design was just like. It was like, I was like we were both just like there's been in any of these movies there's been no display of force power like that ever.
Yeah, which is why earlier in the movie when she's trying to bring the transport, I thought that was sick.
It was awesome. I liked how, I liked how like when they Rey and Kylo like turn their lightsabers on and they're like, ooh, we're gonna fight you now, and he's like, no, you're not. Like, boom. He's like, you're gonna fall and you're gonna kneel. Like, it was like this kind of like crazy thing because he's so powerful. But that's why I thought, I did think his death was, it was not what I wanted.
Who? Palpatine?
Palpatine.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like they should have. In my perfect movie, either Rey would have joined Kylo and become like the Sith power couple of my dreams.
Yeah.
Or she would have killed Palpatine and become Sith, so Kylo could have defeated her and finished his arc as Ben Solo.
Yeah.
And maybe, and you know what? And we could reconcile the two. She becomes Darth Rey, flips open this dual-bladed saber staff that Palpatine has ready for her, fights Kylo. Kylo kills her, but then transfers his life, or as she's dying, he sees the light in her, transfers his life force, and so she can come back to him, and she sees his sacrifice, so she can continue and become the face of the Resistance and the new order of the galaxy, and that would be cool.
Yeah, I think that would be really good.
Because at least we don't have, because then it's just like Palpatine did this whole thing, and really again nothing. Like Rey is just too strong-willed of a character. Yeah. Like she was going to kill him, but then Kylo comes in and whatever.
Yeah.
Anyways, that is my. I guess that's my major. That's my one major thing is that I wish that she had killed him and become a dark Rey.
Even just the way it ended as well. I thought they could have kept the exact same ending story-wise, but I thought the deflecting lightning back. I mean, it was kind of that's how we got disfigured in the first place. Like, two lightsabers. He's now more powerful than him.
Two lightsabers.
I just I thought that was kind of a little bit weak because the lightsaber isn't what gives you power, right? Like it's not. Anyone can turn on a lightsaber.
Maybe it's because it was Leia's lightsaber.
Maybe it's Leia's lightsaber, but why
did she put them together? I wish she could have put them together in the saber staff thing. Come on.
What I wanted there, I wanted him to do his zappy thing, and then she blocks it, and then he goes okay, flips out his two lightsabers. That's what I wanted. So, what are you doing?
I don't know.
Just break something?
I don't know.
Okay. That's what I wanted. I wanted those two that was, or even just his one. I just wanted him to have a lightsaber, and I wanted a crazy Rey with 2 lightsabers against Palpatine with 1 or 2 lightsabers. Like, I wanted one last, even if it was short, just a crazy lightsaber battle. Because we know Palpatine is an insane, like, lightsaber duelist. He's insane. Like, he destroyed the entire, like, all the masters except for Windu, but, like, you know, in seconds.
Using Force speed and Force screen.
Using
canon.
All right, canon. No, we're not talking about that right now.
It's canon.
No, it's not.
It's real.
But you know, he did all that without his lightning, right? Like he did all of it, and now he's here, and he's like just kind of like gotten more and more powerful. He just got reinvigorated. I thought the reason why he was getting reinvigorated was so he could fight physically. That was kind of like the thing was like.
Yeah, and also why can Rey resist physically? She just had all the life force stolen from her. Why can she now just get up?
Well, that was because all the Jedi now live in her. They were obviously kind of like feeding their power into her from the other side. Whatever.
Still could have been treated a little better, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Been a bit cooler.
Yeah, I also kind of wanted him. I wanted him to get restored a little bit younger. I wanted him to get restored to like.
It's like Sheev days.
Yeah, like I wanted him to be Sheev. Like he could still be like kind of like, you know, like what if he was just like
and he got
Sheev
that
and
haircut back.
Yeah. But like how cool would that be if he was just that and he like I mean like they restored him back to kind of like the original trilogy kind of look.
Yeah, the yellow eyes.
Yeah, the yellow
eyes. I like
eyes.
His yellow shirt. His like a little silicon thing.
Yeah,
it's
like
nice.
his red kind of with that. So yeah, I mean this has nothing to this is not like a fault of the movie. This is just something that like I personally when it happened I was like oh let's get him like you know Sheev days because like let's get those lightning damages restored and then he could just have like that kind of like dark under his eyes and like the yellow kind of like Anakin and like
that would have been
that stuff.
I did like the design. I one pro for me was just like the Emperor was such a cool kid. Like we thought we thought we were worried that he was like gonna show up just in the last 15 minutes of the movie, get beaten right away, and that was kind of it. Like though that's his cameo, but it's like no, he was like an integral part of this movie. And man, his voice, his lines were so cool.
How he said
his character design too, the black lips, the blind eyes,
abilities that some might consider unnatural.
Yeah, and he said do it. You know, like you know, bringing it back a little bit. Yeah.
So that kind of leads me to the question. This movie did not get well reviewed. I haven't looked at the reviews, but I've heard from people that it didn't get well reviews. I was trying to avoid spoilers, but I saw like a couple memes about, you know, comparing it to like season 8 of Game of Thrones, like
so I was
stuff
really
like that. So I was kind of like, I'm
worried. We were fully prepared to make another hour-and-a-half long video about how much we hated this movie.
That's very true. Yeah. But like, why?
We know. I really enjoyed it.
I wonder why realistically people are watching this and getting very angry.
I've heard some people say that it's like just an amalgamation of what would be like Star Wars fan fiction.
Right.
Like it doesn't make. But I feel like those people clearly don't like Star Wars.
Right, because it put in a bunch of stuff that was cool. Which it did. It definitely did.
But if you strip away just the cool aesthetics, like I think the story was much better, and the writing for the characters are much more interesting. The good characters are much more interesting. Which was a big thing because again, the Last Jedi, dude, I didn't care about any of those characters. They were all whack. They were wacky to backy. I was hoping, like I was like I wish that Phasma had just killed Rose and Finn, and we could have been done with it. Yeah. But at least in this movie, we had some interesting treatments for their characters. You know, they went through some things. We saw some changes. Kylo was still the best one.
Yeah.
He's still the best character. He had a full thing. You know, Harrison Ford came back for a little bit.
He did. He showed up. Yeah. They kind of rehashed the same scene that they did before, except you know, Ben did what he like should have done in the original one. I think that one of the reasons, or like I said before, that like this movie, if it was on its own, if it was its own story and like didn't have like kind of the Star Wars name to it, it'd be kind of a bit of a mess in terms of like what happened and the story arc, and they're trying to connect so many different things.
Yeah.
But like the fact that it has the whole Star Wars behind it, the fact they dipped into kind of like the Star Wars Legends kind of stuff, and like the animated shows, like they tapped into that with like the holocrons, like with the like the dagger, like the Sith homeworld, like all that kind of stuff. Like I think that I think that like it was a really it was a bunch of stuff pushed together because Star Wars is a bunch of stuff. This is the end of 9. This is the 9th movie of this saga, right?
Yeah.
Like it's huge amount of information, and I think that they did an okay job of slamming that all into one movie. But I could see how like a critic who like didn't really care much about Star Wars or anything and watched this, they could just be like, this is so much what is happening, right? Like it's so much going on. So I can see kind of like how like a critical review from like a cinematic standpoint might kind of be like, this is a mess. But I also feel like this movie could not have had the same impact. It couldn't have wrapped up anything if it wasn't a bit of a mess in terms of like the amount of stuff that happened and the amount of information.
Yeah, I wish it was longer.
Yeah,
I could have watched it for like another hour.
Yeah, no,
give me the Irishman of Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly.
Please.
So that would be my thing there. Yeah, maybe like maybe it could have been seen as like a bit confusing to someone who is just kind of more of a casual moviegoer. I don't want to say that. I don't want to say like you just don't get it. I don't want to Hideo Kojima this.
Look, you only appreciate Rise of Skywalker. Sorry, it's a Strand type movie.
It's a Strand type game, yeah.
Yeah, this is a Strand type movie.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't want to be like that person.
Americans just don't get it. They only like shoot type movies.
Yeah. So I'm just kind of trying to understand why people would dislike it.
I don't even know. I like this movie. I will defend this one. There are issues I have with it. But overall, I am quite happy with where we ended up. Honestly, when it comes down to it, I think honestly my only major gripe was that Rey. I don't want to be like the guy that's like Rey should have turned to the dark side. There probably could have been a way to do it when we didn't have Rey to going to that. But I just think that Palpatine should have won a bit more. We should have gotten some more sick Sith stuff. He should have been a bit more of a threat because he got taken out so easily. I just wish he didn't get taken out so easily. Okay, that's my main thing here. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, that's I think my major gripe with it. But overall, man, like I really enjoyed this movie.
I did. Like yeah, if I had to give it a thumbs up or thumbs down, I would oh, he's here.
Is he?
He's here. He's awake.
I'm here. I'm about to go to bed.
Yeah, okay.
Turn your camera on, dude.
Yeah, turn your camera on. Okay. So Adam and I are literally in the back of my Jeep filming like a review right now for Rise of Skywalker. Hey everyone, this is Danger Beat. There he is. There's Danger Beat 55. He's like our main.
He's our
boy.
filmmaker boy.
He's our boy, and we always talk about Star Wars together. So
you might recognize him from the internationally recognized short film.
So we've been talking about it for a while.
Hold on, wait, is there spoilers?
Yeah.
What?
Okay,
Yeah.
wait.
Have you seen it? Have you seen the movie?
I've seen it, but my sister's sitting right here.
Oh, okay. Hi, Corn. Okay.
I'll just. Can I? I'm gonna give a thumbs up.
Thumbs up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
Okay. We'll talk more about this. Danger Bean 55 is officially giving the thumbs up.
Giving it a thumbs up.
We are as well.
Spoiler-free.
Yeah.
We are
Okay,
as well
thumbs
giving it a thumbs up on that
Really?
one.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so excited to talk about it.
Yeah. And we're excited to
I'll
talk
talk to
about
you
it.
guys.
Okay.
I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.
All right. Okay.
Okay.
All right. See you
Bye.
later. Bye, Corn.
Bye.
Bye.
We all see there. 3
Okay.
thumbs up from the 3 filmmakers.
Yeah. So these are. Are we just confrontational? Like, we seem to be going against a lot of. With all these movies, we seem to kind of like be on the opposite side of the majority.
Really, I think the majority of people didn't like The Last Jedi.
That's true, but
And then there was like all the Star Wars fans are like,
reviews were crazy. Like the reviews.
I haven't
for
looked
it
at the reviews. Like, what
For
are
Last Jedi?
what are the critical reviews?
of this movie.
Yeah, for this one.
Oh, I'll actually look it up. I'll look it up right now. I think we
The
can look it
critical
up.
reviews of The Last Jedi were good, and we thought it was awful. It's easily the worst Star Wars movie ever made,
All right.
including the Christmas special.
The Rise of
which we've
Skywalker. IMDb. Let's see what you got. 58% on Rotten Tomatoes.
6.9 on IMDb. Y'all are whack,
Wow.
critics. See, you've got it backwards,
Wow.
man.
See, audience score 86%.
Which is totally
this
backwards.
is the opposite of the last movie.
Yeah.
Like, see, this is what I mean by like the critical kind of review. Like, I can see how they might give it that, but it's not taking into account like the kind of
Star Wars. They don't
seemed
like Star Wars.
This seemed like a movie for the fans. Like
a little bit.
it kind of was.
They,
like,
they went. I thought I was happy with how dark they took it in some places.
Yeah.
They showed some really kind of like gnarly stuff for sure. They showed some consequences.
Yeah, they showed no stuff. They showed consequences.
They didn't go far enough, but for me, it never goes far enough. Yeah. I like extreme things. I want the entire destruction of will and happiness before the hope springs through. But this was fine.
I think that they actually made fun of The Last Jedi in this movie.
Because The Last Jedi
no,
is
they
trash.
did. Like, the sort of thing where the guy's like, well, let's do what Holdo did. And the guy's like, that's a 1 in a million shot. It will never happen again. Like, that type of thing. Because people are mad about that, right?
It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense
It
with
shouldn't
Star
have
Wars
worked
canon.
ever.
Also, like, when Rey throws the thing, and Luke catches it, and he goes, you should treat that Jedi weapon with more respect. And the last one, he just yupped it right over his shoulder. Like, that's the thing. Like, I feel like that's J.J. Abrams saying, treat Star Wars with more respect.
Yeah.
Like,
I think that's the key to making good Star Wars content.
Yeah.
All you have to do is treat it with respect.
Treat it with respect. Treat the fans with respect.
Exactly.
The fans know more.
We're not dumb
than
okay?
you. That's
we're
the
not
thing.
stupid.
The fans
we
as
love
a whole
Star Wars.
will always know more than the people making it. Like that's the thing about universes like this. It's one of the reasons I think like the new Harry Potter movies have not done well because the fan base is so established. The fan base is so like diehard that they will always know more than the people making it.
Yeah,
I'm not even a Harry Potter fan, but I just like I know that I respect.
I'm a huge Harry Potter fan.
I respect
anything outside of the 7 books and the 8 main movies might as well not exist to me.
Right.
But me and Danny have always said...
I'm happy that this is not the case with that.
Yeah. We've always said that it should be so difficult to make a bad Star Wars thing.
Yeah.
Everything is there for you to make something dope.
Yeah.
Right? It's not going to be perfect every time. This movie wasn't perfect. It didn't go exactly the way I wanted to. Every single step of the way.
Yeah.
But it was good because J.J. Abrams treated just the universe and the characters and just the entire idea of Star Wars with a measure of respect. Okay?
Yeah.
Like, that's it. That's all you have to do. You just have to find people who love Star Wars and don't want to make money for Disney. Obviously you want to make money for Disney, but that shouldn't be the number one priority. It's making a movie for people who love Star Wars.
Yeah. And I think
that will make money because who's watching it? People who love Star Wars.
People who love Star Wars. I'm not gonna go see The Last Jedi again, but I'm going to see this movie.
Yeah, I'm 100% going to see this one.
I will give them more of my money to watch it again.
100%.
That's the thing. I was almost skeptical about going on opening night because I was like, I went on opening night in the last one, and I was disappointed that I bumped up that box office. That I contributed to it because it was such it just seemed like a sellout. But this, I mean, I am quite pleased with it. Like, Adam said, not perfect. Like, by no means perfect.
But the best one...
Almost none of the Star Wars movies are perfect. There's always things that we have to forgive.
Yeah.
This one had a few things that, that I need to learn to forgive. Dark Ray. Don't do that.
Don't do that. That's probably the worst thing.
Trick me.
That's one of the worst things they did.
Yeah, so that was, I think, one of the worst things that they did with it. But the okay, or not the okay, but the slightly forgivable part about it is it didn't actually affect the story. It wasn't a huge mistake that changed the whole course of the movie.
I think if they hadn't put it in the trailer, I would have been fine with it.
Totally. Yeah. Whatever. Yeah, absolutely. But like the fact that they just, milked it in the trailer all they could,
weak guys.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, but like, I'm trying to think of other things that I didn't like about it. I don't want to just rant about how much we like. I think I'm definitely still high on it right now. I'm sure like when we kind of like think about it and sleep on it, there will be things that come up that I'm kind of like more things that I don't like about it.
But the thing is, like, the things that I didn't like don't bug me as much because the overall product was good.
Yeah.
The things in The Last Jedi, I would nitpick it to death because overall I didn't like the thing because it didn't treat it with Star Wars with respect, and there's the overall story and the writing of the story arcs in general was terrible and predictable and bland.
Right.
And so that's why I could be like, I get upset about the porgs, for example. In this one, it's like I'm not gonna get upset.
There were porgs.
There
There was one shot of porgs.
That's fine.
That's about enough.
That's okay.
That's about all I can handle.
Yeah,
is
for
one
this
shot.
one, my gut feeling, even though it's probably like 2 a.m. at this point, my gut feeling is that I'm not gonna be too upset about the little things.
Yeah.
That maybe I didn't like.
Yeah.
There's one big thing, but I'm not gonna get upset about the little things because overall, this movie was a win in my books.
Yeah.
So it's like the little things to be upset about. It ain't gonna bother me, man. I just brush it off. It's fine.
But I feel like a few of the actual mistakes were, or what I perceive as mistakes were game changing.
Yeah.
Like in The Last Jedi when Rose stopped Finn from driving into the thing. That altered the course. Altered the course of the whole movie.
Oh man.
And it was not okay.
Hands down one of the worst scenes ever put to film.
Yeah, so I mean, like they could have just let if they were gonna have them both survive, don't have Finn try and do that. Like it would have been better if he just didn't. If he was like, no, I'm not gonna do that. That would have been better. It would have been totally better. Anyways, we're not talking about that movie.
We're not talking about Last Jedi, dude. Never again.
Yeah,
we can just talk
exactly.
about Rise
We just
of
talk about this
Skywalker.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like the, I like the ancient kind of feel that we got from it. Like all the ancient like Jedi tomes that Rey is flipping through. You get like the old like the Sith dagger that they got off a Jedi hunter. Like from who knows how long before. We haven't even talked about how Rey is Rey Palpatine. We haven't even
what a
brushed on
sick
that.
reveal.
Yeah,
I was
that's
Rey's
good.
gonna be the next Skywalker. No,
That
it
was unexpected.
Kylo Ren the whole time.
It was unexpected.
Rey Palpatine, which is why they would have been the dope when they kissed. I was so happy. Dopest couple of all time. The last Skywalker and Palpatine united,
exactly.
and then their kid, bro, the ultimate like gray Jedi.
Gray Jedi. Yeah. So I liked that thing. It was obvious. Like I still would have been okay if she was no one, but like it was clear that they kind of had to make her connected to the story.
Dude, JJ did some crazy finessing to clean up the mess.
Yeah, he did.
Oh.
He worked magic there to clean up that whole mess.
It's like your parents were nobodies by choice.
Yeah,
they were nobodies to protect you.
Yeah, like they actually went in and nitpicked the wording so that they could change it to what they wanted.
Good on you, JJ.
Yeah, so I mean, like those things, like I said, those types of things were objectively clunky, kind of how they like had to get there.
Look, man.
But it worked. Like that's the thing is it worked. Like in those things, it wasn't just kind of like, oh, it's Palpatine. You're kind of it wasn't like, what? Like, kind of like Snoke dies and we were kind of like, what? It was like, oh, it's Rey Palpatine. You're like, oh shit. Interesting. Okay. Now convince me. Like continue, right? It's an interesting new thing. I don't think anyone called it because Palpatine. We didn't know we had kids. We didn't know we had grandkids. Like,
true. Yeah.
All this thing. So, but we didn't know a lot about Palpatine. He had a lot going on behind the scenes. So I was okay with that. Like it makes sense a little bit more how she got her. She's super crazy powerful with the Force. I kind of like the first shot we saw of Rey when she's just floating cross-legged with the orbs of rocks around her. It was a very interesting visual. It makes a bit more sense now because she's had some time to figure it out.
Yeah, a whole year.
Yeah.
How about the very last ending where she goes back, buries the 2 sabers, has her own, and then like the lady's like, "Who are you? Like Rey what? Like what's your family name?"
Yeah.
And then she sees the Force ghosts of Luke and Leia, and she's like, Rey Skywalker. It's because to her like the Skywalkers were more of a parental figure to her, not because Luke and Leia had an illicit incest kid that was Rey. But that's initially what I thought they were alluding to. I was like, wait a minute, like what?
Yeah, no,
Heck?
it was because they were the biggest people in her transformation as a person, right? Like that.
Well, no, I think Kylo Ren was.
Well, true, yeah, but he was a Skywalker.
Shoot, you're right.
He's a brother.
Yeah, I'm
Brother.
gonna say she said that because she's gonna marry Kylo Ren's Force Ghost.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because obviously,
That's
what
it.
Force Ghosts can manipulate physical objects, and he's passed away into the Force like Luke and Leia did. They didn't die. They they did the whole Obi-Wan disappearing thing, like Yoda too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, dude, Kylo Ren can come back. He and Rey are gonna be together. The romance, the epic romance,
Episode
my heart
10
is restored.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, no, I thought that was
Oh,
it was
dude,
pretty-
they
it was a
kissed,
pretty
and
good
then
twist.
he died. Oh
Yeah.
man, what
Yeah.
I hate it, but I love it because I thrive off of this tragic
tragic
love story,
Yeah.
man. Oh, they could.
Yeah.
That's gonna make me so sad, but it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
It just will make me sad.
I did enjoy this, like, the completely new, because a lot of the other Force abilities we'd seen before, the Force lightning, we saw it in kind of some different ways, some grandiose scale,
Yeah.
like Force jumps,
Yeah.
kind of just like, regular Force pushes and pulls and stuff, and that we've seen all that before, but we had never seen, like, the Force actually kind of like bending reality, like we saw in this one.
weird.
I
They
thought
had,
it was
like,
really
it's
cool.
like they had
like-
it was like they were Thanos, had some of the Infinity Stones. And
Right,
stuff.
so they were kind of like, like that whole thing where it's like all of a sudden they're kind of like when we first, I like it was gradual the way that they did it, right? It was kind of like we saw them in the last movie where they could see each other and talk to each other, and then
And she,
Kylo
like-
reached out and grabbed her necklace off. It was
Yeah.
kind of like, wait a second, this is more than just like connection of the mind.
It
like,
was
this is,
alluded to a little bit in The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Because Kylo, when she's on that planet with Luke,
Mhm.
she's like in the rain or whatever, and he like touches her, and then she's like he like has water running down his gloves.
right,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah.
So it's like alluded to, but I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. That's
Yeah, it's
crazy, the
super
connection
subtle.
or whatever.
Yeah, but this one, like, it kind of
It's like
started.
literally, it's like, oh, like I cut open this jar of fruit and it spills out onto
Yeah,
onto the
yeah,
floor
like, it
on the
was just-
destroyer.
It was just kind of
crazy.
It was just kind of showing like a bit more, and it was cool because like he used that to find her every time, right? Like he ripped the necklace off, and then he was like, "Where's this from?" And then they tracked her, and then like like the fruit thing was kind of like a thing, and then they smashed the thing, and also the Vader helmet fell beside him, and he was like, "She's in my room.
Yeah.
Why is she in my room?" Like,
Yeah.
for that. One thing that I was a little disappointed in is that the Vader helmet was just left there. We didn't see it again. Which
Right,
I was
yeah.
kind of like, bah, like that's, it would have been nice to kind of like have Vader have a little bit. I guess the idea was that because it wasn't Vader, it was Palpatine the whole time. But it would have been kind of cool that even if he just took one look at it, even if he just like looked down at it and then made the decision to walk away from it, anything like that. But it just kind of like, it was on the ground and then he was like, oh, she's in my room. So he he knew it was there, and then he just walked away from it, like, without really thinking, even though that was, like, such a huge part of his life thus far. So I thought that part could have been, even just one shot of him kind of, showing a little bit more kind of almost, like, reverence for it would have been nice, but, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even as we're talking about it, we're bringing up all these things that we didn't like about it, all these gripes, and all these things that we did enjoy about it, what we liked or whatever. And it's like, you talk about a movie so much, and it's like, man, like it could have gone so many different ways, blah blah, and like I wish it had done this, I wish it had done that. And again, there's a couple things that I do wish they had done differently, but my gut feeling overall, especially, even though Rey didn't turn to the dark side like I wanted her to, I still think that, it's not Rey's story, it's Kylo Ren's. And I think Kylo's story throughout this entire trilogy was so much more compelling. And because it was so compelling, I'm okay with the ending, because his story ended on like such a great moment, a great arc. She kisses him, and you see him smile, like he's happy. Someone loves him for the first time ever.
It's the first time he smiled the whole time.
I mean, I guess his parents loved him.
Yeah.
Not to take that away from him, but
Yeah.
it's like he's felt this love from this person he's so intimately connected to through the Force, and he's like happy with he's at peace and happy with his decision.
Right. He knows he did the right thing.
He knows he did the right thing, despite
Yeah.
the fact that he knows he's now about to die.
Yeah. Yeah. I also thought it would have been an interesting ending, as well as if Rey stayed dead, if he couldn't bring her back.
I also thought that would have been good.
I thought
too.
that would have been interesting because then that's kind of like her sacrifice, and then it's kind of like I get where it's kind of like Kylo did a bunch of bad stuff, and so they kind of saw that as his redemption if he died, and like did the good things before he died. But I also thought it would like be really interesting if he still had to earn his redemption. Like he did this stuff, he did like the right thing and helped Rey destroy Palpatine, but she died in the process, and then he has to like go back to the Resistance.
Yeah, imagine seeing him carrying her body.
Yeah.
To Finn.
Exactly, and then like that would be crazy because none of those people would like him at all. Like they would just like want to kill him, and then he would have to kind of, obviously it wouldn't be like a whole movie about it or anything, but it was kind of like the idea of him having to be the last Jedi, right?
To be Skywalker.
Yeah, to be Skywalker, the last Jedi, and then Skywalker, and to like, kind of like try and redeem himself through life rather than death. I thought that would have been interesting as well.
That would have been cool.
I totally get why they didn't do that, but I thought that would be.
I just think you're making a mistake by doubling down on Rey, guys.
Yeah.
She's not the good character here. She was better in this movie, but she's not the one. Kylo Ren is the one here.
Yeah.
He's the key. He's
That's good.
the best part.
I like the scene of him reforging his helmet too.
Yeah, that was sick. That one alien guy that forged
the weird kind of like pig alien guy just like forging it out and stuff. I like how he kind of went Vader mode when like the guy was like kind of talked back to him, and then he's like boom, like that was cool.
Yeah.
Like it was just it was great. I also like how that one moment where like I don't remember what they were saying, but like Hux kind of like said something to him, and then he just like put his finger up to him, just like. He didn't say anything, but he was just like, "You don't talk." Like, just like, and then he was like kind of scared because he didn't want to get like choked out or anything. But he was just like, "Not you." Like, it was just like so like intimidating the way that like he did that.
I like that Chewie got his medal finally. 25 years later, he gets his medal.
General Chewbacca, baby.
There we go.
Yeah. I liked a little bit of Lando in there too. I like how they didn't make him like a driving kind of main force, because he wasn't in the initial ones too. Like he's
just the last surviving character.
Yeah, so they're like, we may as well bring him back, I guess, and they did a good job.
And they got
he helped. He kind of saved the day, but he wasn't like kind of the main. He wasn't like a huge main thing, which is good. I think it's good to have a new cast now.
It's still weird that they were able to summon the Galactic Armada of good.
Yeah.
They all show up at.
But I guess
what's the planet? What is it called? Icicle.
Icicle.
It's like icicle.
Exegol. Yeah.
Exegol.
But also I kind of think that like for that, like because they knew that. Well, I think because I kind of understand why they came, because they literally just went and blew up. What's that planet called? The snowy one.
Well, the town is called Kijimi, I think, right?
Or,
the settlement was called Kijimi.
Okay, so that wasn't the planet.
I don't know.
I think it was the planet. I think it was.
They blew
it up, right? Like they blew it up, and
they're
then
like, oh yeah, they have an entire fleet of these planet destroyers.
So I think that's why
y'all better come help.
I think that's why people came, because before it was just kind of like, we need help. There's like 30 of us trapped.
Boy, but that one destroyer is still out there, like, right? It wasn't. It wasn't at Exegol.
Yeah.
It's out destroying Kijimi. So where is it now? Or maybe it was a command ship?
Well, no, because it showed all the ships kind of falling afterwards because...
Oh, yeah. Dude, every Imperial ship just fell.
Over, like, Endor and stuff. But, like, I think that kind of makes sense that they answered the call this time. Because,
okay, whatever.
Because, like, a planet just got destroyed. And, Lando was probably like, hi, this is General Lando. And they're going to blow up every planet.
Yeah, it just, was, like, a little... It was just, like... Again, it's just like you knew that they were coming. It's just like this entire time, it's like I was never really scared
that they were going to be alone.
The good guys were going to lose.
Yeah, that's
obviously since this was a better movie, I wanted them to kind of win at the end. Well, yeah, I wanted them to win.
Yeah,
I wanted Kylo to be the one to do it, and in a way, he kind of was. But I whatever. I've rehashed it a bajillion times already. Yeah. I just again, it's like. I knew what it was gonna be like. Palpatine shows like your friends being destroyed. It's like, oh, okay, cue a couple minutes, and then like the reinforcements of the Lando were gonna show up, and then they do. So it's just like you knew that they were gonna come. You were never really scared for them.
What I did want as well You know when it showed like the Star Destroyer falling over Andor and had the Ewoks?
Yeah.
I wanted Gungans.
Yeah, where am I?
I wanted a one shot.
We didn't get a single Gungan this entire trilogy.
I just think that would have been hilarious. I think that would have been.
Yeah.
People would have hated it, which I guess why.
I don't think so.
No, it was just one little shot.
Funny.
Little floppy ears, just kind of like, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
I wanted to shut up Jar Jar specifically. We haven't seen him die yet.
Rising from the ashes.
Rising, dude. Okay. End credit scene. Y'all didn't watch the end credit scene, but I did. Okay.
Okay.
The ashes that made up the Sith throne that Rey blasted away, they've all left the planet. The ashes start shivering on the ground. The hooded figures in the stands all get back up. They weren't dead. They just got knocked over by the force power of Sheev dying.
Their life force starts soaking down
into the ashes. It swirls and coalesces into this dark form that emerges from the shadows. 2 glowing eye stalks light up the darkness.
Glowing yellow eye stalks.
And you said, "Oh, you saying big doodle this time?"
Goosh. To be continued.
2 saber staffs, 1 in each hand.
And then he jumps up in the air and goes,
Yeah, he does like he corkscrews
and he just keeps
up
going.
the
He just keeps
planet.
going into space.
Yeah. It's like, oh, they can fly now? They can fly now. They can fly now.
3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, exactly. That one, those guys were straight up just for Battlefront 2. Like those were like, oh, we need new characters for our video game. They can fly now.
Well, I mean, in the original Battlefront, they had like jet troopers and stuff too.
Yeah, but they were kind of like more like jet assisted. They weren't like
Right, they couldn't fly around. Yeah.
But,
like, there are characters that can just fly in the new Battlefront games?
I don't know. I have no idea. I
Those
just know that they're
trash,
adding
bro.
those to the new Battlefront. Anyways,
Garbage.
Yeah. Sorry, we're getting off topic. It is late. It's about 1:30 in the morning. For that, this video has been long. We're almost actually up on time here. We're at an hour and 20 minutes. I think we have like an hour and 25.
Okay, we gotta wrap up.
So
this video.
so we gotta wrap up. If you stayed this long, wow.
Leave a comment. Leave a comment saying. Leave a comment saying that you made it this far, and I guess what you thought of the movie.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, absolutely. Let us know. Tell us we're idiots down below. If you didn't like it, tell us why.
But you're wrong though. This movie wasn't that bad.
Exactly. And then if you agree, then yeah, let us know for that. So yeah, start a discussion down below. Keep it clean. We all like Star Wars here. We're all friends. If you're gonna do that.
And this movie wasn't nearly as bad as The Last Jedi.
No,
guys.
no,
you know.
No.
So
yeah. Yeah. I guess we're gonna wrap it up. We'll be talking about this movie for a long time. I'm
gonna go see it again.
Yeah,
see how
I'm seeing
I feel.
it again with my family soon, so I'd be interested to just kind of see how they feel about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else?
No.
Wrap up.
I'm sure we could keep talking about it more.
I'm sure we could. Yeah.
But again, thank you guys so much for watching. If you like the video, make sure to like it.
Yeah.
If you like our channel, make sure to subscribe. Let us know if you want us to keep doing more of these like movie reviews. I'm sure we will anyways, because no one's gonna watch this long, so no one's gonna tell us to do it. We'll probably just do it anyways.
Yeah, probably.
So but if you did, let us know, and we'll keep doing it, because like, hey, this is not a bad. It's just like another thing we can do is talk about movies. We love movies. We love cinema. And we want to make movies.
We like Star Wars.
So
yeah.
I don't know. So yeah, thank you so much. Rise of Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pleasantly surprised, and maybe that makes me a lot happier because I went in with such low expectations, thinking it was gonna be garbage. No,
I'm gonna sleep well tonight.
I'm quite happy.
I'm gonna sleep well tonight.
I don't want to dislike this movie. I don't want to.
Yeah.
And I don't think I will.
I don't think
once
so.
I think once I watch it again, knowing what's gonna happen, and I can kind of get into it, I think I'll maybe accept the major gripes that I did have. Because again, there are a couple.
Yeah.
But it's not nearly as bad as I thought it was going to be. I thought, because again, if this movie was bad, this entire sequel trilogy would have been a total write-off. But I think this redeems it. I think that's the most impressive thing. This somehow redeemed this entire sequel trilogy for it to be watchable in the future.
Yeah.
This gives me hope for the future of Star Wars.
Yeah.
You know? They're killing with The Mandalorian. I read recently that the director, something Chow, she's directing the entirety of the Obi-Wan series, and she's the person who's directed the 2 best episodes of The Mandalorian.
Which ones?
The most recent one with Bill, and I think also episode 3 where he kidnaps Baby Yoda,
right.
Yoda,
Baby Yoba.
Baby Yoba.
Yeah. Okay.
And like all the Mandalorians like fight and stuff at the end. So
Yeah,
she's the one.
Right. Okay.
So and I think she's somebody who gets it. She treats Star Wars with respect. Yeah. So that gives me hope for the Kenobi series.
Yep.
Gives me hope. This gives me hope for the future of Star Wars.
Yeah. And I think that's all the hope we need.
And you know, I'm sure that there will be more movies.
There'll be more bad ones.
And
There'll be
there
more
might
good
even
ones.
be really more bad ones.
Yeah.
But please, I hope, you know, this was a kind of a learning process. I hope that Disney is kind of figuring out what the fans actually want.
Yep.
And what we want is just treat it seriously, man.
Yeah.
Just
not even seriously, not even with a serious tone.
I want
respect.
a serious tone.
Just treat it with respect.
Treat it with respect.
It can be fun.
Well, it can be
very fun.
Well, yeah, but it's just like
Yeah.
It can be fun, and you know the nature of it being the source material being kind of like it's like a soap opera in space. It draws from like samurai movies and spaghetti westerns, which can be very kind of cheesy a little bit.
Soap opera.
That's like what? Yeah, that's what George
Space
Lucas.
opera.
Space opera.
Yeah, an opera and a soap opera are very different.
Right. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah,
Space opera.
Yeah.
But it's like very melodramatic inherently, right? But it can be very fun. I mean, I wouldn't mind a very serious, dark, edgy Star Wars thing. It could be a show, because then you don't have to appeal to the masses for like a show. I just want something really. I would love an R-rated Star Wars movie someday. Maybe they'll learn from the Joker. $1 billion, baby.
Yeah.
Give me